So, respecting everyone's time, let us start our session. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. A warm welcome to each of you to this engaging webinar focusing on the concept of agency both within and beyond the classroom. Today, we unite as a collective force of change in the learning journey. As teachers, parents, peers, and members of the wider community, each one of us plays a vital role in nurturing and empowering learners' agency. While our levels of influence may differ, but we significantly shapes the development of agency in learners. With this, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Sana Khan, and I'm the academic coordinator at Shimanli, and will be your host for today's insightful session. I wish to begin the session by introducing Shimanli to all of you. Shimanli stands at the forefront of transformative education, dedicated to equipping students with life-ready skills essential for navigating an ever-evolving world. Our innovative approach blends traditional academic learning with the cultivation of indispensable future-ready skills. Through guidance from esteemed bodies such as the World Economic Forum, UNESCO, and Harvard University, we foster global citizenship and cultural understanding and inclusivity. At Shimanli, authentic learning experiences led by international facilitators emphasize self-awareness, sustainability, and real-world skill development. Our interactive live lessons seamlessly weave life skills into academic content, ensuring a holistic educational journey that prioritizes both social, emotional growth and robust academics. We are committed to empowering our learners with the lifelong advantage of across personal and professional spheres through our dedicated to holistic development. So many of you have been the part of our webinar in the past, and we see this community growing. We have participants joining from more than 12 countries, and today we have invited Ms. Priya Darshini as our guest speaker. Hi, Ms. Priya. Thank you for dropping in. So now I would like to introduce, hi. So now I would like to introduce Ms. Priya Darshini to all of you. Ms. Priya Darshini holds good 8 years experience in international school teaching. She is an English and psychology facilitator, learning events coordinator, and new teachers induction coordinator at Srinidhi International School. Early in her education, she became a keen observer of her teachers, comparing their different philosophies and approaches, thinking about their teaching methods and assessing which method enhanced her own learning. By continuing this analysis throughout her high school, college, and university, she slowly and deliberately amassed a collection of effective teaching techniques. The distillation of those years of observation and analysis combined with the lessons she's still learning from her own teaching experience yields the overriding principle that she strives for in the classroom, like clarity in presenting material, in detailing expectations, and in expressing educational goals. An expert in IB curriculum from early years to MYP 5, Ms. Priya is not only a workshop leader, but also joyfully coaches teachers, making a significant impact in today's educational landscape. So we are thrilled to welcome Ms. Priya to share insights in today's webinar. Now, Ms. Priya, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sana. I don't know whether I deserve such good words. I will try to keep up to the expectation. Thank you so much. To Shimanli, it's a great platform. And I hope I am absolutely audible, Ms. Sana. Is it fine?
Yes, you are audible to our audience.
Okay. So firstly, I would like to thank Shiminli for such an amazing platform. I also started, following Shiminli from a long time when I was following the speakers, my colleagues, and it is a great platform of learning. And the the speakers that come to this platform is so diverse. It is a great learning platform. So I hope that once we leave this meeting, we have something new in our bag. Before I begin, I would request our guest if we can, or if some of you can turn on your cameras. It is always good to see your smiling faces, but if it is difficult, we would understand. So before getting, further delay, let us directly get into the topic. As you already know, our topic for today is agency within and outside the classroom. As Ms. Sana has already shared with you, within these 8 years of my experience, I've been very fortunate that I have taught toddlers to grade 10. It appears very, very surreal, but I somehow did because I was doing multiple classes. I have moved multiple schools, and I've never restricted myself to one classroom or one curriculum or one batch of students. I've been doing multiple roles and all of that. So in some or the other capacity, I have touched lives of children from toddlers to MYP5. The reason why I say this background of mine is very interesting, that whilst I was teaching and I was going on in the profession of my passion, because I always believe this is not a chance, it is a choice that I've made, that I wanted to be a teacher. The common thing which I found, there were a lot of common points, but the common thing that really touched me is agency. But before I talk to you about the journey and what made me come to this common point of agency, I would like to tell you, when I heard about the word agency in my teaching career, initially I would be thinking agency as in some consultation, some agency as in, if I need a job, there's an agency sitting in between and connecting us. It was far from the thought of the agency that we know in education, the agency that we vouch about, especially in 21st century skills and life skills development. It was far away from that. Many years later, I discovered, or I understood, or I was informed that there is a different dynamic of the word agency. And this is going to be my topic today. As you know, in a child's development or educational trajectory, there are three stakeholders. Can we quickly say in the chat who are the three stakeholders in a child's education? I would request, if you know the answer, could you please put it down in the chat? If you want, you can also say it aloud. I think that everybody knows this, but it's fun to go back to the basics maybe. Chat is here. Teachers, parents, and the child. Exactly. Perfect. The three stakeholders in a child's life is teachers, parents, and the child, him or herself. So as we understand that these are the three very important stakeholders in a child life, one might argue that how is a child being necessarily a stakeholder in his or her life? This is where agency comes. Unlike the previous centuries, 21st century education system upholds the fact that agency is so important. That is where voice, choice, and ownership comes about, right? A child, when the child has his or her own voice, has his or her own choice, is also held accountable. That is why it is believed that the stakeholder in a child's education is also him or herself. Now, moving on, once we understand what is agency, how do we implement this agency in our classroom, right? So before we get into implementation of agency, I would like you to tell me in your daily practice of classroom, how do you perceive agency? Obviously, there's a saying, there's voice, choice, and ownership. But to narrow it down, if you can tell me your understanding of agency, that would be very helpful. If you can put it down in chat. May I request teachers to please put down your current understanding of agency, or how do you see agency, perceive agency as? Involving students for their learning. Very good. Anything else? Anybody else? I mean, it would be great if we participate, then I would not look like, it's only one directional. I would really enjoy having your presence. If you could kindly share creating a team, fantastic. When first thing we talk to them, take their point of view and anything. Personalized instruction, amazing. Freedom to act or make informed decisions. We make them stakeholders, excellent. Yes. So agency in education also refers to a student's capacity to take initiative. Like everything that you've covered is precisely put here. Make choices, drive their own learning. As we often say in our school, that we are preparing students for leading their own learning. Right here, now we actually call ourselves as facilitators more than teachers, because we facilitate learning. It's not a top-down load or one-directional learning anymore. That is why we are more inquiry based now. We facilitate learning. It's crucial in education for several reasons, like it empowers them, it enables critical thinking, leading one's own learning, life skill development, service learning, and putting it into real action, cause learning is personalized, empathetic, and resilient. So the moment you have agency in picture, the moment you give them that power of ownership, they are engaged in personalized learning. It is not like today I'm going to school and I don't know why do I have to study history. I'm not finding that connection because it is not personalized. There is no agency. I'm just being told. Like it is said, if you tell me, I might remember, but if you engage me, I will learn. So it is not about just remembering or mugging stuff, but it is also understanding, getting involved, and putting it into real action. That is where the change happens. In a sense, fostering agency in education is fundamental as it transforms students from passive recipients of knowledge to active, engaged learners capable of driving their own learning and success. Once they have the bigger picture, once you've introduced to them that, okay, right now there's so much of, nuances happening around us. How can we bring in some service? So they will sit and reflect, okay, maybe this is the expectation. And the question why, this is something that we, at Srinidhi International School constantly do. I also do that in my classroom as well, constantly enabling the power of thinking in terms of why. I think in the previous generation, we were taught so much history, geography, physics, but I have a feeling that we were not taught to think in the terms of why. This is where both the emotional and intelligence come in place, where you're thinking in the capacity of why. And that can only happen when you're personalized with education, when you have a connect. It is not something you're distant from. You're not alienated from the system, the content, the concept, the skills, and everything. So this is the reason why, as I started from at the beginning, that the common thing which I saw in my teaching career is the more I engaged my students, the more agency I gave them, the better the classroom turned, the better output they could bring in. And definitely, I believe happy environment makes happy learner, and there is a positive, there is assurance that you're having a good class. It is not only about students, even as colleagues. Like we say, we should be away from toxic boundaries. Happiness is the key, and happiness can only come when there is agency. If you're told something, it is a pressure. There is a lack of engagement, lack of connection, and that is an area of problem. So this is what I have felt is important in a child's life, that it should not be a passive reception of knowledge. Then there is very, very bleak or very slim chances of any conversion of that knowledge to real life, any application, so on and so forth. Moving on, as we all have a lot of visible thinking routine going on in our classrooms, right? Let us discuss. I'm sure there will be in your mind, as we are talking about agency, there would be questions. You agree to some of the things that I've said, you don't agree to some of the things you say. So this is a very nice thinking routine. It is called, like, I'm very fond of this visible thinking routine, which is a mind map, but I prefer this much more because a lot of different perspective comes. Like, I think learning is all about perspective, the lens through which you see what is good to you, what is relevant to you, could be absolutely irrelevant or meaningless to me the moment I change my lens. So this thinking routine, it is called compass points, where we talk about things that excite me, worry me, things that I need to know, and the suggestion that I have. It makes a whole lot of difference because we have four lenses deliberately brought in the picture to discuss. So if we can, in the chat once again, talk about what excites you about agency, what worries you about agency, and what still you need to know. Like when I started, I always thought that I'm not being able to give them enough agency in the classroom. Or even if I was giving them, I was not very sure how agency looks like in a classroom. So I would be discussing the case studies later on to ensure that, yes, this is how agency is ensured. We will talk about that a couple of minutes later. But before that, if you could share what excites you about agency, what worries you about agency. Like, for example, that is my next slide, actually, that how much agency is too much agency? Like, can we give them complete agency? Should a facilitator, like, not have any control over the class? So this could be worrying. Like, what is that is we will debate about this a couple of minutes later. But before that, if you could point out, exercise that my students will be independent learners, worried that it's time consuming. Okay, that's a very new perspective. Miss Sami, if you could elaborate why do you think it is time consuming, it would be very helpful. Or if you can even talk to us. It is a very good point.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, see, as I mentioned, excites that my students will be independent learner because they will be taking ownership of their learning, right? They will be planning, monitoring, and also evaluating their own task, right? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. So since they are doing all these three steps, so they will become independent learner. And of course, it will not be only restricted to the four walls of the classroom. They will also take it further and they become independent learner throughout their life. In fact, even when we try to do such things in our own daily routine, we become a better learner. Then I felt it is time consuming because since we are in CBSE curriculum, we have a lot of content actually to teach. And to take, if we are taking this for all the topic, then
Mm-hmm.
within the classroom, it will be little difficult. Means it will be time consuming. That means within the time frame that we have normally, it will become
Mm-hmm.
little difficult to complete the portion and then to follow the curriculum the way we have in CBSE.
Okay, if I correctly understand, ma'am, you say that the application or the implementation of agency is time consuming, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. To that, ma'am, how about the fact that you complete the curriculum with lesser or least agency, and the learner is so distant from the coursework, so distant from the skill set or the content or the concept, that ultimate output, maybe through agency, you're not being able to complete the entire planned framework, but the output is much more. Even if it is less, it is concrete and there is a solid output to it. Instead, if you complete the entire framework, and education or the takeaway of the child is so impersonalized, is so far away, because the connect is not built yet, the output is lesser. I mean, just thinking aloud, what would
Yeah.
you prefer?
I agree with you. In fact, we are also planning to do somewhat like this actually in our school. So let's hope for the best. We'll be
Thank you so much.
concentrating, as you said, on a few areas, the important points. Every time in a curriculum, we the frame network, if we consider, then we always
Mm,
have few things which are really very important from examination point of view, whether it board examination I'm talking about. So
mm,
we'll be concentrating on those topics first and then taking it further. So hopefully it will be covered within the time frame and the
exactly.
output will be better. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I can assure you from my experience that because I have always mostly been with IB, we have been successfully been able to cover everything planned within the time frame with a lot of agency. Ms. Raquel says excited and effective approach, worries not an easy. Not as easy when it comes to assessment, can change topics, but the format of the assessment is more difficult. Right. So again, a very good point. This is something amongst colleagues within and outside school and framework. It is always a debate that can we also bring in a lot of agency during assessments? I would like to add my personal notion here. Yes, I absolutely think that there's a case study that I will share with you, and it will be very relevant here. I feel utmost assessment should also be given during assessments, again, for the same reason that if my learning has been very, I own my learning, it was a personal learning, the connection was built. Assessment is more like, I am not a huge fan. I never say that I will test you today. I say that, how can you show me? How can you demonstrate? What is your takeaway? What do you think about it? So when you share this approach to a person, immediately there's a different angle of assessment, or a different angle how you're approaching it. In our class, I always avoid saying, today I will test you on this, or tomorrow you will be tested for, because they're not giving any test. They are just demonstrating what is their takeaway, what they have learned. And also, I feel my approach to assessment is not what they are now, where they have been and what they have achieved now. It could be below grade level, it could be that they are far behind or far ahead. However, that is not the focus. The focus is the journey that they have taken, and the journey is all about agency. That has been my practice so far. Time consuming, allow pick something from the web, but they might not find support. Planning and implementing within a large. Okay, Ms. Jyoti, it's a great point. Implementing within a large classroom. I will 100% give this to you. Yes. When you say implementing agency in a large classroom, yes, it gets difficult because, like they say, too many what spoils the broth? Too many cooks spoil the broth, right? So if lot of students are there and their approach to agency is very varied and diverse, it could be a challenge. In such a case, what I do is, you can group them. You can always have 4 groups or 5 groups in a classroom, and you can always tell, okay, today we have learned about realistic fiction. How would you like to present your learning? That could be a formative. And one can come up with a PPT, one can come up with a collage, one can come up with an essay. And this is where you are handling large group. Instead of dealing with all 18 students differently, if you can pair them up, or in a group, like a group of 4 is very good. Like, 4 students present your understanding about realistic fiction through a collage. So planning touch, and you can also ask them that, okay, this is our framework, this is the skill that we are developing, this is the content and the concept we are talking about today. How would you like to present it in front of the class? How would you let your understanding come out to your friends? I think that way we can cater to large classroom, if that helps. Excited, students will be engaged, learning will be enjoyable, experience learning is not. Yeah, I think this is a very, very important point by Miss Vinicia. Students will be engaged, learning will be enjoyable experience. Learner is not forced to do it, he is motivated to do the task in hand. Like, ever since childhood, I, just like you and everybody else, I hate to be told anything. I just don't do well if I'm told something. Instead, if there are options given in front of me, I am absolutely more than happy to pick up something and go about it, right? So the more agency you bring into a classroom, I can assure you, the more happier kids will be. And you will see, once the connect is built between the content and the child, there is a lot better output that is assured. So we are excited about learning. We are worried about time. Anything that, if any one of you can write about anything that you need to know, would be very helpful. Anything that you would like to know, any additional information, any evaluating thing that you would like to know about agency. And I would like to have a suggestion about agency, is that I would request teachers here, if you can reflect upon it, that if we not restrict agency only in the classroom, if we can bring agency outside classroom as well. Say, for instance, there is, I'm sure everybody has assembly and they are all gathered together. How would you like to behave? How would you like to stand differently in your class section? How would you like to demonstrate discipline? How would you like to, in this assembly, conduct the assembly? Or how would you like to, bring in a particular rule in a school? Like, every school has bus services and all of that. And from the school to the bus bay, it is a bit of a distance. How would you like to bring in some rule for little ones, for the early years, who can be here and there? So it is, I have seen this amongst people. It was also in me as well. When I thought about agency, it was very, very directed and narrowed down to the classroom in a one-on-one teacher and student relationship. But if we can build this during their homeroom time, during their any other lesson, we call it homeroom time, registration time, if we can talk to them about agency outside classroom, how do you take ownership? Suppose you are a senior child in the bus. How do you ensure safety for little ones on the bus? If you give that agency to them, they feel very responsible, and everybody likes to be heard and acknowledged. Acknowledgement is a key that all teachers have at their disposal. The moment you acknowledge a child, half the game is done. Oh, wow, you've done a brilliant job. I didn't even expect you could do something like that. I'm so proud of you. Wow, it didn't come to my mind. Really? Amazing. I will share this with other classes. These sentences, these phrases are at our disposal. If we bring this outside our classroom, when we are walking in the corridors, a child is, wishing us or wishing back, oh, good job, thank you, you made my day. Agency again, that, ushering people is owning up to the fact that you're being empathetic, you're being, you're being kind. Agency doesn't necessarily come only in the assessment, in your curriculum, inside the classroom. I think there's a plethora of areas where agency can come out. You're an elder sister, you're a younger sister. How are you building your relationship with your brother? you're such a good student. Your brother is not really doing very well. Why don't you help him? Why don't you, demonstrate some leadership at home as well? The more we talk, they will also be open and they will understand, okay, agency is something not that I park in the classroom. I come out of it, I have it. I board the bus, I board the car, I come home all the time, I can have agency. Because you will see, especially with the younger kids, they have two avatars, one in school and one at home, right? I mean, they do not really, I think it is for all of us, personal life and professional life are very different, but our values are same. We are the same. If I am a very honest person, I will be very honest in my professional world, in my personal world. If I'm a very, very hardworking person, I will be continuing that value wherever I am. But with children, what happens? They know they will not be doing certain things in school, but they can do anything at home. So that can also be changed. That is a very, I mean, you will see moms, when the parents come, they will come and tell us something like, he doesn't listen, ma'am. If you tell him, he will listen. That means he knows or she knows that he or she is supposed to only listen to the teachers and not the parents, maybe. So these important values can be reinstated again through agency. If you tell them, look, whether you listen or not, if you have a cause, there will be followed a consequence. If we can constantly talk to them about causality, if there is a cause, a consequence always follows. And if you're responsible for the cause, you're responsible for the consequence as well. All the time. Both come hand in hand. That is, again, a framework of agency. Ownership. Okay, I have done this. Many a times I've seen children don't own up to the mistake. They argue, they defend, they're constantly defending. No, ma'am, he pushed me, ma'am, he. But then I tell them, calm down and let's go back to how it started. How could he push you? If you were just standing there, you have gone to that point where he could have pushed you. Again, there's a lack of agency there. You did not make the right choice. That is why it is choice, voice, and ownership. Even choice is very, very important in every aspect of a child's life. Need. Course completion gets difficult with bringing in agency since it's about written content in the notebook, creative writing. Okay. Miss Savita, I'm not very sure if that is your question. Could you please reiterate, Miss Navita? I did not, Miss Savita, sorry. Examples are app, micro planning to be done. Need stepwise procedure. Yes, absolutely. Very nice. Very nicely said by Miss Sami. Yes, stepwise procedure is very important. Like, to control your class, as you know, you will always have to be the facilitator and the child cannot be a facilitator. To have that grip of the class, planning, meticulous planning is very, very important. That, what kind of questions they might have, how they can present, and how, especially the time. I mean, from a very long time, I have also struggled with time. And one of my, I'm very fortunate to have amazing mentors in my life. So, one of my mentor once told me that it is not about how lengthy your class is, but it is about how effective your class is. We sometimes are under the impression that, okay, I've taken 2 block lessons where I have only been talking, I've done a good job. Not really. Not really, because you have, like they say, when you're talking, you're only repeating what you know. There is no new learning for you. And secondly, there is no guarantee that for the block lesson, for both the lessons, the child has been listening. Because usually the concentration is the child's age plus 2 minutes. So if the child is 12, the child can only concentrate for 14 minutes. So if you've been talking for 90 minutes, I'm afraid definitely there's been a lot that has been lost. So it is not about the length, it is about the depth of the class. And most importantly, how minutely are we planning? Especially, when you have very bright children in the class, after they have finished presenting, what do? They will come to you and ask you that, ma'am, I'm done. Are we prepared for that? So definitely, Ms. Sami, it's a very good point. Stepwise procedure planning is very, very important. So I think we have spoken about what excites us. We are worried about, and we all agree to the worry. We need, Ms. Savita, if you could kindly tell me, I'm not sure if I understood this. Course completion gets difficult with bringing an agency about, so I don't really understand the question. And suggestion, like I said, it would be great if we took agency outside the classroom. Now, instances like we all face these instances in our respective schools. For example, the school may be considering the idea of a dress code. A teacher might present the class with the idea of altering the room arrangement. A character in a book might be confronted with making a choice, and so on. So, as you can see, such varied areas, but there is a requirement of agency. Say, for instance, if you're trying to change the dress code, or if the children are complaining that their dress code, their dresses are very itchy, they're not comfortable, it's very boring, they don't like the color, the cloth, whatever, you have to make a big decision because you have to cater to a big number. Okay, so agency, right? And this agency is not only restricted to students. We will reach out to parents, staff, everybody. Teacher might present the class with the idea of altering the room arrangement. You will most of the time see some students will say, ma'am, can we sit in pair? Can we sit there? Can we do that? The voice can come out, right? Once the voice comes out, you can make the best choice. Maybe you had thought that you will make them sit in pairs, but that day there is a group activity, right? And a child says, ma'am, how about we sit like this? And he or she said it aloud, and it is so helpful. So as you can see, in every aspect, agency can be applied. A character in a book might be confronted with making a choice. Like, I'm an English teacher, speaking about character is very easy. But any other time also, when, especially in maths, when we have steps, there are so many corollaries, right? You can approach it this way, you can approach it that way. What best suits you? To know that, you will have to implement agency. Now, it's a very, very, very important thing. I thought I've always discussed this with my colleagues. Any work submitted by student which does not meet the criteria of the task, should it be acceptable in the context of agency? If yes, why yes? And if no, why no? Sometimes, especially, in learning spaces like corridors, okay? Children have just scribbled, right? And it is up on the corridor. Do you think it is acceptable work? Because it is a learning space. Remember, this child might not, be even seeing that chart paper. That learning space may be seen by somebody else. Maybe the child has such illegible writing, nobody can even find out. So that learning space is wasted. So under the instance of agency, can we accept any kind of work, whether it meets the criteria, it meets the, the standards, the rubrics, anything? I would like to hear from you. I mean, from this, we will go on to the fact that how much agency can be implemented. I mean, I understand that obviously it is not measurable, but how much agency can we roll out to say that, yes, this is thus far and no further? I'm trying to see if anybody is raising their hand, or I guess no. Okay, thank you, Mr. Abhishek. Anybody else would like to add any point?
I've added mine too.
If the expectations are specified for each student, can accept if they expect. Okay, thank you, Ms. Jyoti. Okay, so I would like to share my notion on this. I think under the context of agency, despite not all kind of work can be accepted. Like I have shown you, this is a child's work of grade 6. They were asked to write a script and create dialogues between characters. And this person has written a new day in my life and a referencing day. Let's get ready for school. Tom, hi, Bob, how are you? Bob, I'm fine. I'm fine, Tom. Tom, Bob, what class do we have? Bob. So firstly, as you can see, it is only 2 characters, and only this much task was done. So there were 4 criteria: using language, producing text, organizing your thoughts. As you can see, and this is a grade 6 level task, it doesn't meet the task criteria, right? We couldn't see any, much content in it. We could not have much idea of the day. We could not see the dialogue being developed either. So this is not acceptable. And the reason why it is not acceptable is, assuming the fact the child fully understands the task, there is a competency lacking here. Now, under the criteria of agency, if the child is not competent enough, if the child is not, yes, but that they should be directed. You're able to see learning. Okay, if you see learning, yes. Now, if the child assures you that they fully understand the task, every child will not be similar. Obviously, there will always be room for children below grade level as well. However, having said that, if the child produces this kind of work, you will have to send them back and say, let's redo it. You can sit with them, you can pair them up with other children to ensure that the quality of the work is increased and definitely the task criteria is met. Here we don't know how did the day in that child's life go, or in the life of Tom or Bob go. So it doesn't meet the criteria of the task. When you're doing learning spaces, the corridors, if you're writing illegible writing, and it is wrong because when other child comes and reads it, the learning space doesn't justify oneself. So personally, I feel there is nothing as too much agency. There is nothing as too less agency. However, the implementation of the right amount of agency at the right time, as facilitators, we must be very mindful about the fact that, okay, here agency has to be looked in a different way. Here at this point in time, the need of the hour is developing skills, developing understanding. Here, we will ensure the agency is there. We will ensure that the child fully understands. There's a connect there. There's a personalized, intention of the child around the task. That is all set. However, the concept, the content, the skill development must be there. There is no getting away with poor quality of work saying agency. That is my take on it. Like, sometimes, say, for instance, you're writing an essay. This is primarily, I'm saying, for the younger kids, lower elementary. Obviously, any work done by the children is appreciated and all of that. However, as we all know, there are criteria, there are expectations. Say, for instance, a grade 2 child is expected to write 100 words. But if the child is only being able to write 2 sentences, that is not acceptable. We appreciate that he or she has made that effort and has come up with idea, but we will have to push him further. We will have to send back the work and push him further to write maybe from 2, because it's a journey. From 2 sentences, the child can't go back to 100 words, but we can push the next time you work, you can come up with 5 sentences, and that's a mandate. That has been my understanding about this. Often it is said, whenever we talk about agency, there is a curriculum standards need to be met, and this is the role of rubric is vital. Absolutely, Ms. Kapila, I totally agree to it that curriculum standards are non-negotiable. The framework, the rubrics, the criteria are non-negotiable. If they've understood the task in the first place, then there is no need of agency. This student might have other reasons of submitting such a work, so agency is not applied here. Yes, ma'am, I agree, Ms. Jyoti, that after the submission of such quality of task, here the debate is not around agency. Absolutely right. There is some other reason that we have to cater to. And that is precisely where I'm saying that we must cater to that other reason and not just let the work pass by saying it was a child's work, there was agency, and it's okay. This was my point. Thank you, Ms. Jyoti, for putting it together. Now, going forward, this is very interesting. These are real life case studies. For admin, right? The students are experiencing boredom due to the repetitive nature of the school assembly. Additionally, they experience They express considerable dissatisfaction with both the quality of school meals and the uniform. Despite these concerns, students believe they lack the means to impact or influence any change within the existing system. They feel constrained in exercising their voice, choice, ownership to bring about improvement. Now, here there is a very, very strong potential of choice, the choices that you make, the choice whether you will put it up across the management, the choice whether you will speak to adults about it, the choice whether you will confront it or not. Very, very, some students think that no, if I say something, it will not work. I'm very, very fortunate that, I have been part of schools which are very, very supportive of student choice, voice, and ownership, and the staff as well. I'm very, very fortunate. I strongly believe it. So you can see in such a scenario, it is so important that the student is given the chance to voice out their choice. Now, curriculum design. The history teacher adheres strictly to the syllabus, teaching solely from the textbooks. However, students fail to feel engaged or connected to the subject matter at all. They struggle to comprehend the significance of the text being taught because there's a lack of established contextual relevance. Say, for instance, today I tell you, let us research about Nizams. I just say that, let's research about it. Will you talk about the Nizams of Hyderabad? The only Nizam of Hyderabad, the Nizami food, the Nizami cloth, the area of Nizams, the era of Nizams. There's no context, correct? If there is no context, there is no personalized connection built there. So that is their concern. There is no voice. That is their how and what do I learn, right? That is the question where they are trying to voice out. There is a lack of a missing link. Assessment design, the science teacher administers a weekly test on Fridays. However, students have ceased preparing for it as they believe the test doesn't allow them to showcase any skills, knowledge, or comprehension they possess. It's so repetitive, it is so monotonous, and it's like a thing, okay, every Friday I have to prepare. So the student has given up because there is no ownership. The child is firstly being tested. Nobody likes to be tested. And the child never signed up for it in the first place, right? Maybe the child doesn't like the medium of demonstration of his or her learning, so on and so forth. So developing the right learning environment. Here, there is a lack of ownership, and perhaps the teacher is lacking developing the right learning environment. So therefore, this is the outcome. So these are clear different areas in a child's life where agency is lacking, but agency is thoroughly needed. Now, because obviously, like all good things, we are running out of time. I know Miss Sana will come up just 1 minute before I go any further. So in my classroom, I have been very fortunate to implement amazing strategies, and these are from my personal experience that has worked. That is why I would like to share it with you. Obviously, after talking about agency, it makes sense that you would find, you would want to know that how can I apply agency in my classroom or outside? Communicating learning objectives. The moment we start a class, if the learning objective is out there, immediately the bond is built, right? Because when you sign up for a workshop, you know the title, right? You don't want surprises. Communicating learning objective, emphasize contextual relevance. It is very important. Like I say, if somebody tells me we have to talk about Nizams, who is Nizam? What Nizam? What is the context? So ATL skill, when we talk about approaches to learning, one of the ATL skills is research. And it is very important that research also has subcategories. It is a myth or it is an unawareness. We tell the students, we park the students by saying, okay, go on and research. We have to, there is guided research also with guided questions. The more you help them with guided questions around context, the better research they can come up with. Just like when we are searching in Google, say, for instance, I want to see a movie. If I search a movie, something will come. Best movie of 2024, best movie of Brad Pitt in 2024. So the more you feed or guide the question around your research, the better research content will come. Enhance student through critical reflection. It's very important. Only through reflection do we learn. Okay, I understand. Okay, I'm not a very good dancer. Okay, I have to work. But awareness, brings in acceptance. If I'm not aware, if I don't know what I don't know, I will never know what I need to know. Correct? Facilitate ongoing feedback. It is not a one-time report or a one-time summative. Ongoing. It is a progression. Build community through peer feedback. Conduct engaging assessments with the medium given by the students mostly. I know always it's not possible, but if it is a fun environment, if you give them, okay, how would you like to demonstrate your learning? Each time, if you give this agency, it makes them very connected. Give choice to get voice, give teachers agency as well. It is very important that we also have agency as well. Miss Sana, do we have a lot of time?
We have 5 minutes.
Okay, so these are the resources. One of the resources I've used is Harvard Zero Project Thinking. It's very, very helpful, very neat, good. NWEA I've used. I've obviously used some IB content here. And this is my email ID. Please make a note if you want to collaborate, if you want to learn, if you want to tell me anything, if you want to ask any question. I'm really, really an email away. I'm more than happy to do it. And now it's a question time. If we did this feedback, it would be very helpful. Or if you would like to ask me any question, I'm more than happy. Like to share anything, if not a question, it's everything is good. You can do what I used to think about agency. Now I think you can do a question answer. Anything is good with me. But I would like to really hear from you now. Any questions, anybody? Thank you, Miss Jyoti. Thank you.
Anyone can write on the chat
Yes,
if they
yes.
have any query.
Yeah. If you want to say anything, add anything. I can also type my email ID in the chat. I hope, thank you for the wonderful, thank you, Miss Nishigandha, means a lot. Thank you so much. I hope helped a lot. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's amazing to know this. I hope there has been some takeaway from this session, and I hope you will be able to implement all of them in your session as well. That would be amazing, actually.
A very informative session. Would like to learn more about agency. Then people are thanking. So, Miss Priya would like to take up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. No agency is more or less my learning.
Exactly. Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was very precise, but it is amazing.
Yes,
to
by
the point.
Mr. Abhishek.
I've made, thank you. I've made a point. Thank you. I'm very happy.
Wonderful feedbacks. Yeah. So as Ms. Priya rightly said, agency in education is something where students drive their learning, directly connects to life-ready skills when students take charge and make decisions and learn independently. They are developing vital skills for their own life. And these skills include, I think, problem solving, adaptability, and the ability to apply knowledge in their real life situations. And I think they prepare them to navigate the complexities of the world beyond academics. And I'm so amazed that it exactly aligns with the mission of Shimanli. Should teachers require any support in incorporating skills into classroom activities, as in student development program or teacher training program, please feel free to reach out to the provided email address. Ms. Priya, if you can
Yes,
change the slide.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so there is a provided address for us, and you can always inquire regarding the student development program or teacher training program here. Our aim is to offer assistance to empower students with essential skills for their future endeavors. So with that, I would like to conclude. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the participants for your active engagement. A special thanks to Ms. Priya. Your contributions have truly been invaluable, and you can see an applause which speaks volume. It's inspiring to witness participation from diverse corners of the globe. Thank you once again, and we look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. A big round of applause for a lovely, Shimanli supportive team and all our audience. You have been amazing. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Hope to
audience.
connect
Yeah.
with you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.